What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple H podcast, Happy Hour Hoops. And we're less than 2 weeks away from basketball here, folks. Super exciting stuff. Best sports time of the year. It's going to be even better in just 13 short days when the NBA season officially returns. We've been having a little taste of preseason, and that's been awesome. But we want the whole thing. We want the NBA in its best form, the regular season, in a full season ahead. Jake, I know you're excited, but just entertain me. Tell me how excited you are for this upcoming NBA season.
Excited enough that the group chat had a legitimate 30-minute conversation about Emoni Bates last night, and I am not an Emoni Bates fan, but that's where we're at with basketball fervor. No, there's no ooh, Johnny. I'm not going to hype up Emoni Bates. That's more like that's how desperate we are for some basketball going on, at least in the Cavs world, that we're deciphering Emoni Bates playing all the Atlanta Hawks G Leaguers and putting up numbers against them. That's just where we're at. But I will say, because personally, I don't care about preseason anything, but preseason basketball is, I was talking about this with a friend at work today, is definitely the best preseason product, because you can't, like, if the starters are out there going, like, it's hard to like simulate fake, like, bad basketball. Like, you kind of just have to, like, you don't have to go balls to the wall, but it's hard to just simulate game action and not be going like hard, at least. And those guys are trying to get in shape too. So those first halves, even in Jimmy Butler's playing in the third quarter last night, like some of these games, like you get the starters for 24 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes, and those are good minutes. Like they're trying to get the work in. And then you see a game like Wemby and Chet going at each other with the Thunder and Spurs on Monday night, where it's guys that we just want to see like on a court.
Yeah, we've never really seen either of them before.
So those are the exciting things about preseason.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And like just like how personal the sport of basketball is in general, just like only 5 guys on the court at a time. You see them up close. You don't really have a choice whether to see them up close or not. They're there.
Yeah.
And then probably one of the other best things, and I this is personal to me and the Celtics, but seeing new guys on a squad for the first time in their threads and playing legitimate basketball is awesome. And we obviously had that with Porzingis and Drew Holiday. But yeah, preseason's awesome. We're gonna have a little bit of open discussion on preseason, the news and notes. But for today, we will be finally previewing the Pacific Division, a very fun division. You have the LA teams. You got the Phoenix Suns, the new look Suns. We're going to dive all into that. The Warriors, of course, and the Kings. So this is a super fun division. We're going to get into that right after the news and notes. And the first piece of news happened no more than 15 minutes before we hopped on to record tonight, Kai Jones, a few days after he tweeted that he was going to request a trade from the Charlotte Hornets, the Charlotte Hornets went ahead and just waived him. Apparently thought he had little to no value, or maybe just sending a message because he tweeted that out a few days ago. What do you, I mean, we're reporting this because it just happened before the show. How newsworthy do you think this actually is, or if this has any substance, or if you have any destinations you think a team that might take a stab on Kai Jones?
Well, he did say that this is his MVP year coming up, so I would imagine that suitors are lining out the door for Kai Jones. Obviously,
It's my MVP season too.
Listen, I really don't blame him for trying to get out of Charlotte. So, like, honestly, good for him. He did. I think he did the right thing. Good for you, Kai Jones. Even though you don't have a job today, I think that he did the right thing. Charlotte's going to be a mess. We've seen their chaos all summer. And Kai Jones is part of it. Don't get me wrong. He's not, and now he's a part of this lore forever. But man, the Charlotte Hornets, my cat just did the craziest jump. I'm sorry. They're a mess, man. And so this Kai Jones situation, like, it was surprising to see how it played out, and then you're like, oh, it's Hornets, like like that.
The thing I took away from it the most, I don't know where. Do you want him? Do you want him on the Celtics, Kai Jones? I feel like he could help a lot of teams, like, but I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
My initial thought was, would Brad do something like this? Like, I wouldn't hate it. I don't think it'd be much of a needle mover. Like, I'm sure it would replace a guy like Wenyen Gabriel's minutes, who we just got, a little higher draft capital for Kai Jones. Really still unproven, good size. So I wouldn't hate it for him to be a back of the bench guy, but also not loving the way this relationship, if you want to call it that, with the Hornets ended. Who knows? I mean, the Hornets are a mess, so it's really hard to say if this is a Kai Jones problem or this is a Hornets problem or a little bit of both. I'm not banging the table for Kai Jones on the Celtics, but I think you're right. There probably is some suitors out there, and someone's going to take a stab on him. I think the most interesting part about him is just how unproven he is. We haven't seen enough of him, I feel like, to have a full evaluation of his talent, but
I agree.
He has the size, he has the draft capital. So, he's still, I think, only 21, 22 years old. Something could work out.
It's 22. Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah,
who knows?
He's only played 67 games in his career. Even, I mean, he's barely. That was not even considered a rookie season. Like I guess it is, but so really, you're getting a guy like brand new who could come in, and I mean, he could definitely help a team out. I think day one, so it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, so keep your eyes open, and everyone keep your eyes on the Charlotte Hornets, just if you like mayhem in the NBA, because pretty much since the beginning of last offseason, they have just been a roller coaster between MJ selling most of his ownership stake, them partnering with Mr. Beast for their jerseys,
that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like, why is Mr. Beast on an NBA jersey?
The off the court issues with about 70% of their roster. I mean, the Hornets are a mess, man. So, if you like chaos, keep an eye on the Hornets.
Yeah, for sure.
The last bit of news has kind of just been everything we've seen from preseason. I mean, we've had it all. Like I mentioned, we have the guys in new threads who we've caught a glimpse at. I know I was over the moon seeing Porzingis and what he looked like in a Celtics jersey and just his level of play. I mean, people are saying he didn't even look like this when he was on the Knicks, which I love seeing sad Knicks fans having to watch that sad reality of Porzingis actually looking a lot better than he did for their squad on my squad. We have James Harden sitting his first preseason game, and the Sixers came out today and said he's also not playing tonight. So not much of a surprise there, but still just eerily weird Harden situation that's going on. Why don't we start there? I know, we talked a good amount about Harden last episode. Don't really know where we're at. I tend to think I actually claimed that I don't think he's going to play a game for the Sixers this year. You and Steve brought up some good points about, maybe maybe the Sixers don't actually want him out there, but they need to play him to kind of showcase a little bit to up his trade stock. But then we saw James Harden kind of getting a full warm up before the preseason game against the Celtics the other night, only to be announced that he's sitting again tonight. I mean, have your thoughts changed at all on Harden, or do you anticipate seeing him out there in the first week for the Sixers?
Man, I don't. It is weird that they're sitting him. It's weird, to not just try to put him out there and build some chemistry with new teammates, anything like that. Maybe he just doesn't want to play, and that's part of the thing too. It's a weird situation, man. I mean, I'll still say that he's going to be on the roster, but we're still 2 weeks. There's so much that can happen. We're 2 weeks away from getting the opening night today. Nah, I think he's gone. I think there'll be something happen. Woj is probably going to tweet about it during this podcast. That's usually how these things go.
Yeah.
Or right after, 15 minutes after we get off, that'll be the Woj bomb that Harden got traded. I think he's got to go at this point. I think I could see why you'd want to do it, my original theory, but just this team can't. I just don't see how they can go into the season doing this dance every game. You know what I mean? Are we gonna and when he does step on the court, the circus that comes with that too. I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to play nice and get him to where he wants to go right now, and that's what's happening here.
Yeah, hopefully, for Sixers fans everywhere, and then Joel Embiid, they can figure something else out quick, because I honestly, I'm starting to feel bad for Embiid. I think that's the weirdest part about it to me. You're the Sixers organization, you're gonna let Morey is just gonna play this cat and mouse game with James Harden. He's already kind of outwardly said he'll be as stubborn as he wants to be about it. He'll bench Harden, if he doesn't like the deals that are coming in over the phone for trading him. And, to do that to a first year or your new coach, he's not a first year coach, but your new coach and Nick Nurse. And then also, I'm sure this is all while this is all happening and you're having this pissing match with James Harden, if you're Daryl Morey, it's all upsetting Joel Embiid on the other end of it. So I don't know. Sixers are going to Sixer at this point, and they're starting out hot with it. We also saw Ben Simmons return to action the other night in preseason. That was a breath of fresh air for Nets fans and Ben Simmons truthers out there. He looked pretty good. And then we had a quote come out from Kevin Durant today that said, if Ben was healthy, he wouldn't have left Brooklyn, which I don't know how much I believe that, but what are your thoughts on Ben Simmons here heading into the 23-24
We're
season?
back, baby.
I thought you might be.
We're back. That's all I needed to see. I saw him putting up those threes, and I'm like, oh, we're back. It's all just confidence with this man. It's literally just a mental thing. So if he feels good, then he's gonna play well, I think. I think that he literally has been under the microscope since he came into the league. We know what the shit show of an organization the Sixers are and have been.
We're seeing it again right now.
So they clearly fucked him up. And then the Nets fucked him up too. The Nets were just as much of a shit show before that. And now there's some stability there. There's an actual plan. I'm sure they met with him all summer. We're like, listen, this is what our team is. This is what our vision's going to be. And this is how we see you. And it feels like it's the first year that Ben Simmons has played on a team where it's a stable, just normal basketball situation. The Nets, also for the Nets, the Nets have not been a normal basketball team in quite some time either. But this, seriously, Ben Simmons has not gone into a season that's been felt just team getting ready for basketball season no crazy expectations, just trying to go out there and ball. Like when that ever happen? It's never happened. He came into the league with crazy hype to play with Embiid, and the expectations were sky high. And then even going in after the trade, the expectations were still sky high for that team. And so I'm very interested to see what Ben does in a scenario where, like, I wasn't expecting to see him. I hadn't even thought about Ben Simmons until the other night, to be honest, because like we had talked about it so much at length on this history of this podcast that I just blocked him out of my memory. And so now I'm back. Like I when I was watching it and seeing how he looked, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Like, damn, like this is the first normal off season / start of a regular season that Ben Simmons has ever had. Like, it's just at least some sense of normalcy, whatever an NBA normalcy for Ben Simmons living in New York City can be like, but it's got to feel like a breath of fresh air for him too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I don't know if I'm all the way back on Ben, but I'm definitely just intrigued to see what he can do with this Nets group, because we already saw so much promise from this Nets group last year. They kind of played above their means in the playoffs last year. We know how good Mikal Bridges is. Happy Hour Hoops stands with Mikal Bridges, and we think he's going to be the next best thing in Brooklyn. So it's a great opportunity for Ben. Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up. He kind of has carefree basketball to play for the first time since college, probably. Yeah, maybe even ever. Maybe high school, because
I would say since Australia, honestly. Yeah. Because LSU was such a mess. Like, we know, like, he didn't even play there half the season, all that shit. Like, yeah, that's a long time, man. That was 2015 he was in college? 2016? Yeah. Like, that's 8 years, going on 9 years of craziness. And that's the thing about this dude, too. Like, he's fucking, 26 years old? 27? Like, he could be entering his prime right now if he's actually healthy. So, yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, he's 27. And yeah, I was starting to come
as
around
a 27, as about to be a 27-year-old. I've been extremely partial the last year of my life to people that are 27. Be like, listen, they got a lot of time left. There's plenty of time for them to cook, because just gotta keep that rolling. We gotta run in.
That was quite the statement to come into. Partial to 27-year-olds.
Well, Steve, we're talking Ben Simmons.
All right.
Jake's all the way back in. So why don't you tell us?
We're back, baby.
It's one of those things, Donnie. I think I said this in the opposite way with the Heat last show, right? Where until I see it, I'm not going to believe it in terms of the Heat falling off. I'm not going to be a doubter. I got to see it from Ben Simmons at this point. I'm no longer giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Day before the game?
Give me a regular season game. I'm tired of this. Oh, look what he did in practice. Or look at this. He's shooting from outside. Let me see it in a regular season game, and then I'll believe. Because that's the only logical thing to do at this point, Donnie. You can't, it's just all speculation at this point. And come on, if we're going to be honest, Ben Simmons at one point was, one of the top basketball talents potential wise. Yeah. Of course, you can throw him in a gym for 2 minutes and get some video footage of this guy looking like he can take over the league. That's not hard to do. You go, Ben, shoot as many threes as you can until we find a few that go in a row and we can clip that. Or
those were the only ones.
Exactly. That was it. That's all he did. So let me see it in a game. I come back to Jake talking about Ben Simmons. I hope
I'm locked in. I
hope
my listen. Here's my actual defense for Ben Simmons is that you didn't miss while you were coming on. He has never come into a regular NBA season. He came into the Sixers. They were a fucking shit show for his entire time there, and then he went to the Nets, who were more of a shit show. I think more with the Kyrie situation, probably more of a shit show. And so this is just at the least. He's had the most normal off season. This is probably been the most normal training camp. Everything is just basketball. There's no extracurriculars.
What are your expectations for Ben Simmons this year then?
Oh man, I don't 48 games and 16 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. That's for
Okay.
real. But I still think like it's there if you can't trust him to be there, play the whole season yet.
Right.
So that's what you
No,
need to
you
see
can't.
more than anything.
Yeah.
And that's like you're saying that the same thing with Zion too. Like people
Yeah,
were,
absolutely.
I saw the internet going crazy that Zion was ranked. Was he 58th or something in ESPN's ranking? Something like that. He's in the 50s. Like, why should he be high? Like, he does not play the
You're just
sport.
going off speculation at that point, right? We've seen in small sample sizes Zion be absolutely dominant. But the fact of the matter is, you have to get to the point where you're like, I have to see it to believe it, right? We've seen spurts of Ben Simmons being a dominant player too, where it's like, but this is like 2-3 game sample size. I got to see it before I can buy in and believe it.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about Ben is like I just started to come around last year in the actual like personable aspect of Ben Simmons, because for a while I was just thinking, wow, this dude's mentals are like, he's that in his own head that he has untaught himself how to play basketball. But the longer it went on, or not even the longer it went on, but as the time went on, and then I tried to pay closer attention to his interviews the longer he was out. And I started to kind of believe, like, damn, maybe this guy is actually hurt. The other night was at least a bright spot. He looked kind of like his old athletic self on the court again. So I see Jake buying back in. And right before you hopped on, we also were talking about how this is a carefree situation for him too. So it's probably comforting for him at the very least, and not that much needs to be asked of him playing alongside the guys he's going to play alongside. Obviously Mikal Bridges being the biggest one there. Like the eyes shouldn't be on him, especially to start the season. So we'll see. Ben Simmons TBD. We'll see.
One piece of news that just happened, not good news at all, related to our opening story though. An arrest warrant has been issued for Miles Bridges related to his previous domestic violence. He apparently violated a protective order. So Miles Bridges back in legal trouble, and the Hornets, as we talked about at the beginning, a complete shit show and are not stopping anytime soon.
Can I talk about the Hornets real quick?
Yes.
I think it's hilarious for the Hornets here. So the 82 regular season games in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
The Hornets have one nationally televised primetime game this year, and it's against the Spurs, against Wembanyama. So the NBA is trying to keep the Hornets out of the light as much as possible. They don't want any part of this team. Who knows? Because, you talk about, obviously, right, Miles Bridges has the off-court problems.
Yeah.
Their top pick, Brandon Miller. We all know what happened at Alabama. So and then you have the pick the year before, James Bouknight, another guy who's talented, but has his issues off the court. So the Hornets right now, it's a little bit of a mess in Charlotte, and that's a gigantic understatement.
Yeah. We touched on all the not all those specific guys, but we touched on the Hornets as a whole at the top, because Kai Jones just got waived right before we started recording. So yeah, they're a mess. Maybe MJ knew what he was doing when he sold the majority of his.
Yeah, he's chiller, bro. He's cashing out. They're playing Bulls music out in the islands for him and everything. Like, he's living the dream.
But I'll tell you what, let's give a little bit of positivity to the Hornets. Mark Williams about to put up numbers. He's about to put up numbers this year. That guy, real deal for a big man. Yeah,
I love it. Do you guys have anything else on the preseason stuff before we get started? I mean, Wemby versus Chet was amazing.
Yep.
Obviously. But yeah, I'm down to get into the Pacific Division if you guys are down.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's start with the most polarizing team in basketball.
Don't do
the
it to
Los
me.
Angeles Lakers. They have one of the most polarizing players going into his 21st season, LeBron James. The Lakers and LeBron James win total for next year is a mean 48.5. Steve, what do you got? What do you think for this Los Angeles Lakers team? Improved Lakers team, I probably had. I think they had a strong offseason. What do you like about this? What do you do or don't like about this win total?
And well, it's tough because right, it's basically father time, right? The win total is you're basically betting on father time with the man who seems like he's exempt from father time, and we've seen this kind of across all sports where there's just these stars that just are playing longer and longer, no matter what happens. And LeBron James is it's hard to be a LeBron James hater at this point, Dunny, right? I never liked LeBron because of his fan base. I never liked how he left Cleveland initially to go to Miami, and then Cleveland kind of welcomed back in right after. I didn't really like that whole situation. Obviously, he's matured from that. He's a different guy. Obviously, LeBron can be a meme at times. But if we're taking all that to the side and just talking about a basketball player, I mean, what can you say at this point? what can you say at this point other than we are just I don't even know the word. We are so grateful to have watched LeBron's career. To grow up, all three of us, right around the same age, to grow up and watch this man play basketball for 20 plus years because it's been a gift. He's been the most talented player I think we have ever really seen on a basketball court. And it's like I'm gonna stick with the theme today until like I'm proven wrong. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep staying with it. LeBron James is a damn good basketball player, and I think this is a better team than they were last year. We saw how the Lakers improved towards the end of the year, and I think 48.5. It's a fair number, but I kind of lean the over. I really do. I think I saw it from the Lakers playoff run last year. I saw it with guys stepping up. Austin Reeves, no one saw him breaking out the way he did. But to have a guy like that, Rui Hachimura showed life when he got to the Lakers. And I just look at this roster up and down, and it just looks like it's improved from last year. They have a couple guys, Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, Christian Wood. We'll see what their roles are going to be. But outside of that, I mean, we have a healthy LeBron James and we have a healthy Anthony Davis going into a season. It's hard to argue against that. You know what I mean? And obviously AD's probably he's not going to play 82 games. So let's be real. But right now, it's hard to argue against this team as being one of the better teams from their loaded Pacific Division. But I'll take the over here.
The total last year was 44, right? They won 44 games. They were 44 and 38, I think.
I believe you're correct. Let me look it up for you.
So we're asking for 5 more games. They have to have better health. That was a problem last year. Obviously, they had some injury issues throughout.
And they started
season.
Cold.
And they started.
I was gonna say, didn't they start the season like 1?
They started cold.
They were like 1-7 or something like that. 1-8, I think, to start, and then they were like,
it was real
a while to bounce back. I think that Steve, you kind of put what I was going to wrap it all into. If you got Anthony Davis and LeBron James healthy, it's a 50-win team every day of the week. Like there's
43 wins last year.
43. Okay. Yeah. So you're asking for 6 more wins with a healthy and improved roster. Like you said, they made good signings to this team. Well, remains to be seen what some of the roles are, especially Wood and Reddish. Like I don't expect a lot from those two specifically, but Gabe Vincent, I expect a lot of. Jackson Hayes, I expect him to get a lot of run. This team, though, it just comes down to AD and LeBron. And I think with the rest and everything you guys are talking about, that star rule is going to come into play a lot with the Lakers. A lot of teams in this division are going to be affected by that.
Well, the other LA team's going to love it.
So we're going to see these guys. Like, they can't do the same load management. Like, the Lakers loved the load management last year, too. Whether they like to admit it or not, they've loved it the last 2 years. They can't do it the same way. And I think that this team, we saw it, like you said, in the playoff run, like they figured something out and they got lucky with I think that they got some breaks with the bracket and the way it happened and everything running into the war. They were just a bad matchup for the Warriors. I mean, so I don't know where they actually are in the hierarchy of the conference, but I think they could. I think if those two are healthy, they win 50 games, and I'm not picking LeBron to go under. So.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. We all have the over here. I don't know. I was kind of going back and forth with the line at first, but I really do like the offseason that the Lakers had. I mean, you mentioned most of the additions, Steve, but I mean, you really can't say enough about it. You look at the team last year, and there was glaring holes. They didn't have enough help. You bring in one of the better playoff performers last year in Gabe Vincent from the Miami Heat. You give him an opportunity. You have you make your guard play a little bit more dynamic for him to play alongside D'Lo. Austin Reeves broke out, who you mentioned. can only expect even better things from him. Even like them bringing in guys like Jackson Hayes just to help on the inside, just a big center who can catch lobs from whether it's Braun or AD or whoever setting him up. And then, Rui was super, super promising towards the end of the playoffs and, had some big moments alone. And he kept them in games single-handedly a few times in the playoffs. And then Christian Wood, the final addition at the end of the offseason, he was kind of the talk of the town last year at the trade deadline. A lot of teams wanted him even the beginning of this offseason. And then, for whatever reason, he kind of went cold and no one ever picked him up. And Lakers swooped in and got him on a veteran minimum. So, just another guy who can score the ball for them with some size. I think I'm going the over here just for the offseason they had alone. They looked good towards the end of the year. They really ramped it up. I don't think they'll even come close to starting as bad as they did last year. And if they didn't start that poorly last year, I think they would have hit this mark as is. So once I tried to actually break it down, it made sense to me that this is an overline for me. MVP, probably only one or two options here. I'm going to go LeBron just because it's fun. And like you guys mentioned, AD most likely won't be around to play 82 games. Most likely won't even be around to play over 70 games. So I'm going to give it to King James for the team MVP in his 21st season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I'm going AD though, because I think that they are going to be a contender. It has to be AD. Like I know, like I've said this the last 2 years, so maybe I'm wrong.
True.
But LeBron, like you guys mentioned, year 21, like
That's
AD,
crazy.
man, come on, bro. Like you got to carry the load, and you gotta be in that conversation. And especially if they really want to compete in the West, we know who AD. We know who he's got to go up against and play well against, and do it well. So like, I think he needs to be their best player if they're going to be a title contender. But maybe I'm wrong, because Bron, who fucking knows, man? Like could LeBron be an actual MVP conversation this year again? Like I don't have any expectations for where he's going to be, except he's going to make that all NBA team by hook or by crook. He will make sure of that.
Yeah, man. It's who knows? I think Bron could be in the actual MVP conversation again. I think it will be tough because I think he almost changed his style a little bit last year. He kind of deferred to teammates last year.
I think you have to, though.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's what the Lakers ultimately want too. I'm sure Darvin Ham and ownership isn't really requesting Bron to break his back to try to, set records or be in the MVP conversation. So yeah, he'll probably defer AD. I like that, Jake. He's going to have to be that guy again if they want to make any serious push. Most likely to be traded. For me, I did Christian Wood, just kind of what I talked about. It was probably either Christian Wood or Rui, because a lot of the time throughout the season, those are types of players that teams end up needing or want to add if they're a contender, a big who can score and do a couple different things for you. So I didn't really know who else. They have a lot of newcomers, and I don't really see them trading AD or Bron this season if they're in contention. So Christian Wood was kind of a default pick here, but who do you guys see them trading, if anyone?
Cam Reddish, just because I feel like we've seen him just not fit in with the team so far. It's just been this guy who has potential, just can't really fit in. And I feel like, if it doesn't work in the first half before the deadline, the Lakers will throw him in with something. Because you got to think about this too for the Lakers, right? They still got to look towards the future. LeBron's not going to be here much longer. And AD is a injury concern. You still got to look to the future. So if, get assets, whatever you can. I think Cam Reddish is someone you can still kind of throw in at this point in his career.
Yeah, I don't know if LeBron's ever going to let him look to the future as long as he's there.
He's
got chance. What is the deal that he signed? He's here this year and next year now, right? I think that was the extension.
Yep.
Yeah, most likely to be traded. This is a tough one for me. I like the idea of Rui because I feel like he's the guy that they could put as like, especially if he plays well. He's been out following LeBron around all summer, apparently, whatever. But I'm going. I'll go D'Lo. D'Lo's deal
Yeah, that's
is
actually a
right,
good one.
especially with the price. It's right to pair him up with a Reddish or a Rui and get whatever's going to be available in December, whatever star that will end up being, because it'll be somebody, and the Lakers will be the first team rumored to be trading for that person, whether it comes to fruition or not. And I imagine Russell will be a part of those talks.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. D'Lo's a guy who, kind of no matter where he's been in trade talks. So
yeah.
I guess it wouldn't be surprising if we see it again this year. All right, best case, worst case for the Lakers. Best case, I think honestly a lot of these teams in this division, this segment should be pretty easy. Best case for the Lakers, NBA championship. Worst case, I think second round exit. I think if we always try to do these segments if healthy. So if this squad's healthy, I don't see them getting bounced in the first round. So I think best case, they win it all. They got AD and Braun. Very possible. They've done it before. Worst case, second round exit.
I'm similar, but I'm going a little more, I guess, shorter than an NBA championship. I don't know if they win it all. I don't know. I think ages might catch up to LeBron. I mean, and we're talking about 21 years in the league, right?
And those teams in the East are so good, man.
Yeah, those are two juggernauts. If you do run into Boston or Milwaukee too, and not to mention too, I mean, the West is not easy, especially this division. This division is loaded. So I'm going to say best Western Conference Finals. And then worst case scenario, I think we could see the Lakers miss the playoffs. And the biggest thing is just if Father Time catches up to LeBron. Because we've seen it with previous, and I'm not talking just regular guys, superstars, Hall of Famers, greatest players. It's that you've seen, and it's not like a slow, gradual drop-off. It's a quick drop-off. And LeBron so far has kind of denied that and just been putting up numbers, been playing like that. And I think he will still do that. But if we're talking best case, worst case scenario, I think that could be worst case scenario. As Father Time catches up to LeBron, he's like, oh no, like this might be my final year.
Yeah, bro. LeBron, unathletic LeBron's going to look a lot like Paul Millsap, and I'm not ready for that. I'm really not.
That's
really
spot
not
on,
to
bro.
see that.
I've never seen unathletic LeBron, but I just picture Paul Millsap, and that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why that makes so much sense, but it
bad
does.
Paul Millsap.
No, I know which Paul Millsap you're talking about.
Yeah, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the worst case scenario for sure. I think I'm in line with you guys. I think they can win the NBA title this year. And I think they could be in the play-in and miss the playoffs because they could be a 44, 43 win team again in the West. If they match up like in the play-in with, I don't know, there's so many teams. Like if they match up with the Thunder in the play-in again, whatever, like I'd be terrified.
Good.
Yeah,
the West is good this year.
So I'm I think that's the wide range. Like, and it all, like you said, Steve, it really just depends on what number is he wearing now? 6 is health, because if he gets hurt, I don't trust AD without LeBron.
No,
so my MVP scenario kind of goes out the window when I say that, but I just haven't seen it yet.
And I'm not even saying like an injury to LeBron. It could just be like his body's just.
Well, that's the thing is he could just
down on him, right?
He could just have like a hamstring pull here, like a hip, a hip thing here, like those little things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Los Angeles Lakers. We all have pretty high hopes. Everything looks good for them on paper. I think they had one of the best off seasons, and those are the only nice things I'm going to say about the Lakers. So you guys are going to have to wait until Bron has some crazy game when the season starts to hear any more nice things out of me. Moving right along, let's go to the other team that they share an arena with, the Los Angeles Clippers. This might not be as easy, folks, but we'll get through it. Over under for win total is 46.5. Me personally, I have the under for the Los Angeles Clippers. I think so many people are saying, have high hopes for the Clippers. And, if not this year, then when? Because we've PG and Kawhi have been together for some time now. The experiment up until this point has been a failure. Yep. And I think and probably this is going to be the reason. This is probably going to be the season they look the best. But I bought in as soon as these guys came together. I've bought in on every move they've made. I bought in on this group. I bought in on Ty Lue the last couple of years. I love them bringing in Russ last year.
Yep.
I don't want to get hurt again by believing in this squad, though. I put them in a few finals, predictions a couple of years ago. Maybe they're not that good, or maybe PG and Kawhi actually don't work together, or maybe Kawhi just simply cannot stay healthy at this point in his career. I have the under for the 46.5. And you guys just talked about the Western Conference is pretty damn good.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you, Donnie. I think if you guys remember last year at this point, I probably was as high in the Clippers as anyone. I had them in my NBA finals. I thought the Clippers were, had a good chance to win. And obviously, getting one of my favorite players, Russell Westbrook, of course, I don't like the team more, but there's just something about it. And it's just, I think it's like we've seen this story too many times, right? We just haven't seen them on the court enough together. I look at the role players they have, and it's the same guys. And it's just, there's really nothing exciting there. And like you said, maybe Paul George and Kawhi just doesn't work together. Maybe it's not this kind of perfect storm we thought. And I believe Kawhi's 33 or 32, Paul George 33, Westbrook 34. They're getting up there too. And I don't know. I look at this team and I like some other teams in the Pacific Division a little more. So I'm just going to go under here. I think they can, fight for a playoff spot, but I don't think this is the same feeling I had of the Clippers last year where I thought, oh, this team is just loaded on paper and they're going to put it together. They haven't. And like I said, my theme today is I'm just going to go with what my eyes are telling me. And I've watched the Clippers for the past couple of years, and it does not matter what I look at their roster on paper, what I think their potential could be. They just haven't put it together. So until they do, I'll take the under.
Steve, we need both of us, all of us, not that we need this. We need a lot more of that in our sports viewing from what I've seen online for the last couple of years as a podcaster. Just watching games and making it just watch some games, because I know there's a lot of people just not watching any games. I'm going under too. The Clippers are cursed, bro. Until they're not cursed, they are cursed, and they are going under. Something bad's gonna happen this year that they will not do well. I can be proven wrong by that, fine, but no way I'm picking them to go over.
Yeah, team MVP. I struggle with this because I actually think even if both these guys stay healthy for the entire season, and this might sound crazy, I think it's possible Paul George has a better season than Kawhi. I think when I saw both of them on the floor last year, with the exception of a couple games where Kawhi looked unreal and like his old self, I think Paul George looked like the better player for a better part of last year.
Kawhi's knees look shot, bro. Like the way he runs, his knee, they just, you get how you see a guy with no knees running around, that's what he looks like. And he can still, like you said, he probably can still get up for a couple games where if he's feeling good, he's feeling limber and everything, but he looks like a guy that's not running like he used to. And that's the biggest thing for me that scares me about them. He just has never looked right since he got to the Clippers. When has he looked right since he got there?
Because Donnie said there'd be one or two games we'd see where oh my gosh, Kawhi's back. But it's if you see one of those games every 10 games, is he really back? No. and you're right. I think Paul George was more
Kawhi would be the
greatest
basketball player ever if they played a Premier League schedule. He got to play once a week, big game. Kawhi would be Ronaldo, bro. He'd be
But that's why I'm going with Paul George for MVP, just because I think he's going to be more consistent throughout this.
Yeah, I have Kawhi in the dock. I think I'm pivoting, man. I think I'm going PG. It's just the way Kawhi plays too.
This is a PG podcast now, baby. We've done a 180.
Full circle.
We're big Paul George haters now. PG MVP. Let's get it.
Yeah. He also said it's bully ball this season too. So he's on the hunt to bully people apparently this year.
No,
he might be bullying Devin
He's got to
Booker.
stop making those claims. Just play basketball, Paul. Just play basketballs.
Paul George Paul George the other day calling out Devin Booker for well, not really calling out. I guess Taylor Rooks asked him about the Devin Booker beef and everything. But that is what I'm interested in Paul George in this scenario. Like, if he feels like he's being disrespected for his place in the league, how far can he go? Because we've seen the heights Paul George can get to as a basketball player.
Yeah,
can he do it a whole year and keep a team afloat? I don't know, but we've seen it. He can do it with the best of them. Like, and I would love to see if this is like somehow turns into the Paul George magnum opus, like he's like a first team All NBA contender and just balls out. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be like say that's out of the realm of possibility.
No, I mean, when was that? 2019, his MVP. He was in the MVP race when he was in OKC with Russ. We're not that far removed from that. He hasn't had the catastrophe. Obviously, he's had some injuries. He hasn't had them like Kawhi has as of recently.
Yeah, hasn't played more than 56 games since that OKC season. So that's the biggest. That's the biggest thing. Like,
it's crazy.
56. He played 56 last year, but yeah, that's tough.
Yes. So we'll see. I mean, the whole Clippers is just like a giant question mark. Most likely to be traded. I have Russ, and it's just how disrespected he is as an NBA player, and pretty much everywhere he goes, people try to use him as a trade chip more than just player that leaves it all out there every game. So I think that just makes the most sense. Maybe one of these two stars that we've been talking about, Kawhi or PG, if it gets real bad or if something goes sideways with this group, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to just get as much of a return as they can on one of those guys. But I think most likely, what the segment is, I think it will be Russ.
I refuse to say Russ because I love Russ. I don't want to see him on a new team.
Yeah, I don't
let
either.
Russ play basketball, man. I'm gonna kind of pivot a little bit. Norman Powell. I feel like Norman Powell is just kind of score off the bench. Team making a run, someone they can use. It's not going to cost a lot. He's not flashy. It's not crazy, but Norman Powell could get you 20 off the bench, and that's a piece that the Clippers have. That a contending team would be like, that's a guy we want.
Yeah, I think Norm because he wouldn't be an expensive piece to trade for asset wise, but he's expensive. He's on a 5-year, $90 million contract. So I'm saying Norm. They're Norm. The same thing. Norm could be a guy that if they want to bring somebody else in and they put Russ and Norm together, like that's maybe something that could entice somebody else to come. I just don't know. This team I don't know what the vision is. They're trying to open a new arena and be as good as like keep these stars there. And Russ is like the last hope. And I don't know. If there's going to be a worse team, that's the thing is we're talking about how good this division is. If there's going to be a team that we have to pick to be the worst team that ends up in the worst situation.
Could we see Clippers last in this division?
I think so. Yeah,
you think
for sure. I think there's another candidate, but I think this is definitely up there.
Yeah, I think there's another candidate too, and I hate it. But yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
All right. Yeah, well, with that all being said, let's get to the best and worst case and try to move through the rest of these teams here and see what we got. Best case for me, I think Western Conference Finals. Worst case, similar to the Lakers, second round exit. The only thing that differs for me with the Clippers to the Lakers, I don't think they can win the championship. I don't think they have a championship roster at this moment. Nothing in the past couple of years has led us to believe they do. So yeah,
I'm kind of right there with you, except I'm gonna go a little lower again. I think their best case probably Western Conference Final, maybe semifinal, probably final. If they could stay healthy, we've seen what Kawhi can do in the playoffs too, right? He can just take over a playoff game or a playoff series. So I guess Western Conference Finals fair, but I'm gonna go where I went with the Lakers for worst case. I think we could see a play-in and possibly missed playoff team with the Clippers. And now it's crazy I'm saying that because it's like the same roster that last year I was like, it's going to the NBA championship. But it's one of those until I see it. I just don't know if we can see this team at full strength the entire year. And I also I didn't see a lot from Kawhi last year that made me look like he's all the way back, right? You said it, Donnie. We saw it in spurts. We saw it in small sample sizes of him taking over games. But there were other games, man, where Kawhi played 36 minutes and just disappeared. And it didn't look like you had a superstar on the court. That's concerning. So I'm going to be, kind of playing missed playoffs and Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think I'll say worst case, definitely missing the playoffs, and I don't even know Western Conference Finals for this team. I think that it's asking a lot for me to think that this team could beat the Suns or the Nuggets or the Lakers in a playoff series.
True.
So that's where I'm at with that. But who knows? I just think that the Clippers are cursed. I think we've seen enough at this point. This was supposed to be, the duo that put them over the edge, and it's been nothing but stops and starts the whole time. Do you remember where you were, like, finding out about the Paul George trade and everything else? Like, I thought the NBA was we're done. Like, Kawhi is the best player in the world. He just got the best running mate possible. Like, they're going to take over. And it is not anything close to that. So I'm done trusting them.
Yeah, sad for the Clippers, but unfortunately reality until they change our mind with their play. Probably going to feel that way about them for the entirety of the season. That being said, move on to a bit more exciting team, the Phoenix Suns. Their win total is a crazy 51.5 on the over-under for wins. It probably is too low, and that's why I wrote in our doc, it better be over because of the hype that this team is getting, the stars that they have on this squad. It's safe to say we all have the over here.
Yeah, comfortably.
You said it perfectly. It better be over.
And this
better
be over. This could be, I don't know what the odds would be, but this could be a sprinkle best regular season record. Phoenix.
Yeah, I was gonna say what's can we get 60 on this? Because this could be the thing about them is they're going to bad teams when they play a bad team, like they're gonna win, like they could win like 140 to 100 or something. Like, I don't know how you stop this team on
easily.
a bad defensive team. Yeah, easily.
But the biggest difference between this Phoenix team this year and the Phoenix team in the second half of last year, including after they got Durant, is their depth. They got many good role players coming off the bench. I mean, they added so many key pieces. Everyone's going to be like, oh, Bol. And I love Bol. I love Bol. But there's other names that they got that are going to have good roles for this team, right? You look at Josh Okogie, Yuta Watanabe, two great ones there. Nasir Little stuck in, was a solid player for Portland. Like, you have guys like that. Obviously, Bradley Beal was the big splash in the offseason. But when I look at this Phoenix team, Eric Gordon, another one too. Like, I know he's older, but he can score. Like, I just look, there's so much has to go wrong for this team to not be like, you know what? Devin Booker can sit out this game, and Kevin Durant will just play with these guys.
Yeah.
Or Kevin Durant will miss a couple weeks. We're fine. Mm-hmm. We have Bradley Beal. We have Devin Booker. Jusuf Nurkic. Is this crazy to say? I think Jusuf Nurkic might be an upgrade over DeAndre Ayton for what this team needs. What this team needs.
Well, also the fact that Ayton,
maybe for what this team needs.
What this team needs. I'm not saying he's a better player. I'm saying for what this team needs and what will fit in better, I think Nurkic might be a better fit than Ayton.
How about you?
Nurkic is going to have 6 points on 3 of 4 shooting with 25 rebounds.
Yeah.
That's all that team needed. Ayton didn't want to rebound.
Yeah, and he wanted his shots. I get what you mean.
You're giving more shots to Booker, Beal, Durant, and you're taking it away from a big man down low, and you're getting a guy who's just a body who will get rebounds. I'm not saying he's a better player. I'm saying for what this team needs, I think Nurkic kind of helps them.
I think you're right on that. That's a good point.
I love this depth. You mentioned Nas Little. That's a guy that is going to be huge on this team and have a great role. Yeah. Yuta Watanabe brought over from Brooklyn.
And KD loves
him. Yeah,
KD loves this guy.
Boy, and he can shoot. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's a sniper, man. He's a legit shooter. They got Grayson Allen obviously too. So two spot up shooters.
The real big thing I think is like you talked about like they didn't have any defensive wings once they got rid of everybody last year. Now you bring up Nas, you bring up Bates Diop, you bring up like what's the name I was just looking for? Okogie. Yeah, I was like the guys that are going to be able to, their job's gonna be so much easier. Like the guys you're gonna be on the court with, your life is just so much easier this year, defensively, offensively. This is crazy what this roster looks like compared to last year. And that trade a couple weeks ago, like the fact that they were able to sneak in there and it's not the haul you would have imagined for Ayton, a number 1 pick, but for what this team wanted to do and getting young pieces too, like Keon Johnson, he's 21. Like we don't know what this guy could be yet, and he's gonna learn from Brad Beal and Devin Booker. Like there's a future with this bench behind them too, where they can like maybe develop guys. Like I'm excited. Nas Little more than anything. Once I saw that he was in this trade, I was like, that's the exact player that the Suns needed in this lineup to play with these guys. Like he is so perfect. So I'm really excited. I'm just excited to see this team on the court, man. Like I think they're going to be so much fun to watch every single night.
Yeah, and it's funny because this guy doesn't fall into the category of young bench players, but it's also incredible that they have a guy like Eric Gordon who, if Bradley Beal or Devin Booker's not shooting the ball particularly well one night, Eric Gordon's a guy who can come off the bench and give you 7 threes in a game.
Easily. Just throw him right in there. He's done that his entire career, man. And Eric Gordon is the greatest DFS player in basketball history because you see a late scratch in the lineup, you're like, all right, I'll just play Eric Gordon, min price, and he's got 24 points in the game. Okay, perfect. That's all I needed. Like you said, Dunny, right? Eric Gordon, he's gotten older, but it's not like he forgot how to shoot. That's all he needs to do. He doesn't have to do anything else for this team. And even when they are healthy, the secondary scoring that he's going to have come off the bench.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because my biggest knock on this team, just like everyone else's, was just depth a year ago. And now they kind of turned that around. Is their bench? Yeah, is their bench the best in the league? Probably not, but for that big 3 to have this group behind them, it's incredible. MVPs could be any of the 3 guys. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. Probably not Beal. It's probably Booker or KD. I have Booker just because. He just goes to Phoenix. He becomes the greatest player again, like that year he had in Washington, where it's like 30 a year. He just does that.
What if Beal just scores 34 a game because he's wide open? He's never had.
KD and Booker are only averaging like 18.
Bradley Beal's taking over again. He's taking every shot in the fourth quarter.
That'd be great. I kind of hope that happens now, but realistically, I think it's going to be Booker. I think this year, more than any, he obviously he's had a super long leash since he got to Phoenix, but they kind of got rid of some of their point guard depth. Yeah. I think they're probably just going to put the offense in the hands of Devin Booker because we've seen in playoff series where they needed playmaking, he stepped up. And even in the regular season last year, he improved his playmaking a bunch. I think Devin Booker is the team MVP here. Obviously, it could easily be KD. I mean, KD could come close to averaging a triple-double on this team. But I just like the spot that Booker's in. And he has youth on his side as well.
Yeah, point guard Booker. And not a lot of games, but small sample size was good. Like, he was good when he had to run the offense through him. So, I don't hate that pick. It's no shock that I'm going Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant's healthy, I think he's the best player on the court in 99.9% of basketball games you'll see. Give me Kevin Durant. And this is perfect for Kevin Durant too, right? Because he doesn't have to do too much. And I think that just will help him. He's such an efficient shooter. He's so dominant. And he won't have to do too much because he's finally got a team around him where it's like, KD, if you just want to pass this game for a little bit, you got two other players on your who's playing with you that can score 30 any night. And we saw a little bit of it in the playoffs, Dunny, right? Obviously, it was an extreme because this team was just Katie and Booker, and it was with the injuries they were suffering, with the lack of depth. We saw a little bit of it that they were taking like 75% of like the offense in terms of production. But I mean, now it's like with this roster, they don't have to do that, and I think Kevin Durant's going to thrive with that because we could see a classic like set triple double night for Kevin Durant. He only takes 10 shots. Scores like 25 points.
Oh yeah.
Gets to the line, 10 rebounds, 12 assists. And I know that it was kind of a hot take at the start, but I really do think having Yusuf Nurkic instead of Ayton is actually going to help Kevin Durant. I really do. He's going to just get the rebounds and not do anything else.
Just kick it back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, who's your team MVP?
The Durant efficiency is going to be crazy sometimes this year. He's going to be shooting some there's going to be some games where you're like, how did he score this many points and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
But Booker's my team MVP because Booker has to be the engine, I think, for everything. And he's going to play a lot of point guard. Like he's going to make everything go. The ball, I think, is going to come through him a lot. The offense is going to run through him. And I think this could be a Devin Booker just MVP season, not team MVP. This could be the Devin Booker MVP season. His life is as easy as it'll ever be with the two scores that we've talked about. Yeah, I'm going Booker. I've got high hopes for him this year.
Love that. Most likely to be traded. I put in here as someone insignificant because unless something disastrous happens, it's not going to be one of the big three. And no disrespect to the rest of this group, because we just talked about how good their bench was and some of their reserves are, and some of them are even some household names. But compared to this big three, everyone on this team's insignificant. Name your bench piece that gets traded if they need to.
There you go.
There you go. That's all I wanted you to do. I don't have a name. If you guys want to do a little fun exercise at home, go up and down the Suns roster. You can pick who's going to be the most likely to be traded. Allen. Because that's great too. That they all work. Because Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal will not be traded. And they've made a bunch of moves in the last year and a half, so they might even be exhausted from doing that. And probably won't have to make a move. Best and worst case scenario, similar to other teams in this division. I think best is a championship, and worst, I said second round exit. I think a lot of people might look at this team and say best is a championship and worst is you lose in the Western Conference Finals, which would be fair. I just think that, if they run into a Denver for some reason in the second round, or they run into Golden State or the Lakers, and somehow, the matchups work out that way, they are capable of getting bounced. We also haven't seen this big three together. We don't know how it's going to look on the defensive side of the ball, but for the most part, I'm in on this team. I think it's a championship or bust, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got bounced in the second round either.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think a championship second round, because like we said, the West is pretty deep. There's a lot of good teams, and would it be a real shame if they ran into Dallas and Luka owned Phoenix again, and Kyrie got and Kevin Durant sad, Luka got and Booker sad, and they stole a couple in Phoenix? It'd be a shame, but it's a possibility. So yeah, I'll go second round exit is worst case.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Second round exit. They play one of these, top tier teams in the West, and who knows where it goes. They have to play the Nuggets in the second round or the Lakers in the second round. It's gonna be nuts. And I don't know, man. Like, I think the best case, obviously, they win the title, and I feel really good about the Suns. Like the Suns and Nuggets, I just want that series as much as I want LeBron to go to the finals and all these other things. I need a Suns Nuggets series after last year, after seeing them take 2 off the Nuggets, and the only team that really was able to, and now have this roster, like a better, fully formed roster to go at this team. I really just want to see that.
They were basically playing 2-on-5 last year against the
Nuggets. Yeah, and the 2 games they won.
It was insane how Durant and Booker willed them to
Didn't
those
they have
2 wins.
70 in one game? Didn't they each have
over
35 or something like that?
in one. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean,
So imagine
I
that with Brad Beal. Like the sky is the limit. I can't wait to see them.
Brad Beal and a bench. Brad Beal and other guys to rotate in. Like that's the thing. It's like, and I know it kind of looked like a mismatch when you watched the Suns and Nuggets last year, but you got to remember, like they had no business being in this series, and they just
They were relying on Landry Shamet to produce.
Oh no! Don't remind me. Was he had like 6 threes in a game, right?
Yeah, one game.
Yeah, Shamet had like one game where
in it.
he had like 20 points. He was just making threes from the corner, like automatic.
Yeah, man. It's shout out the Phoenix Suns. They're going to be exciting at the very least this year, and probably could coast to the finals if they want to. But we'll see. 13 days, boys, and we get to see the Phoenix Suns in action. Let's round out with these last two teams. Two teams that met in the playoffs last year. We'll try to get through these last two a little bit on the quicker side here. Warriors win total 48.5 for the over/under. I like the under here, guys. Tell me if I'm wrong or why I'm wrong, or if you guys agree.
48.5 seems high because I don't think they're a 50-win team, and I don't want to doubt Steph Curry because every time you doubt Steph Curry, you see what Steph Curry does, Dunny. But maybe I'm a hater on the age, maybe I'm a hater how he's looked the past couple of years. Am I the only one who just doesn't think this Chris Paul thing is going to work in Golden State? I don't think it's been talked enough about enough. Like obviously Chris Paul goes there and people are talking about, Chris Paul, Chris Paul with Clay and Curry. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna work. Like none of those guys want to come off the bench. You can't really play all three because you're just hurting yourself defensively. It becomes a liability on defense with the guards, and B, it just kind of doesn't feel like it's gonna fit right. Like I'm not playing Clay at the 3. Like still like Curry's a point guard, even though Curry's best shooter in the world. But I just don't think it's gonna work too well. Wiggins didn't look the best when he came back last year. He didn't look obviously like the Wiggins of previous years, and I don't know. I'm like. 48.5 just seems high. And I love Curry. You know how much I love Curry. Second favorite basketball player after Luka. And I don't want to doubt Curry because every time I doubt Curry, he proves everyone wrong. But I'm taking the under 2, Dunny. I don't love it because I don't want to bet against Curry. But I just don't think this team's going to work. I feel like this might be the year where it's like, people kind of figured out the Warriors.
Yeah.
I got an under here. No, first of all, I completely agree with your Chris Paul assessment. There's no way I think Chris Paul is going to work on this team. There's an old adage in football. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. And I'm going to switch this and make it for basketball because Steve Kerr said we have 6 starters. So if you have 6 starters, you got 4. You don't that means there's a guy that they don't know who that 5th guy is. They think it's Chris Paul. Or somebody else, maybe Kuminga or whoever. Like, they need Kuminga. I feel like Kuminga and Moody need to be near all-star level players for this team to be a real contender. And I don't know if those guys have it in them. Maybe they do. I mean, Kuminga had all the hype and that was the whole thing. Like, we're threading the needle. We're going to have these stars afterwards. Well, Wiseman's gone and Kuminga and Moody have not shown up like the way they're going to. I think the guy that I'm more concerned about is Clay. I know Clay looked good at the back half of last year, but I don't think he can do that for a whole year. They don't have Poole to rely on as a secondary scorer anymore. It's asking a lot of an older Steph Curry who I don't think his shooting's ever going to go. But you talked about LeBron earlier falling off a cliff. Small guards fall off a cliff like nothing. I don't think that's going to happen to Curry until ever. I think he's going to be able to shoot forever and anything else. But to drive an offense and the amount of he did everything for them last year, man. And there were times where they just went cold and it was like Steph do something, like Steph do everything. Yeah. I don't know. And just the Draymond factor of this too, where's his head going to be at all year? They obviously he got the extension and everything else, but it just feel like there's still some bad vibes from last year sticking around, especially with Draymond still here and Poole gone. It's just, there's a lot of weirdness going on with this team this year, and the Chris Paul thing is on top of it. Chris Paul, just from a personality fit, I don't think even make sense on this team, but a basketball fit makes absolutely no sense. Who's going to start?
Right.
What teams should start 2 6-foot point guards?
That's
that
what
are
I'm saying.
35
This
years
team
old?
is so
What the fuck?
undersized to begin with. The tallest
Yeah.
player on their team is Dario Saric at 6'10". After that, it's 6'9" and below, and it's like these are not. They don't really
And how
have a
many-
center.
And
Kevon
how many
Looney?
minutes? How many
Like-
minutes do you want to play Dario Saric a game?
Right, nobody. No,
Hopefully
2 minutes.
0.
You want him
Yeah.
in street clothes for
Yeah.
most of these
Yeah.
games. And it's like, what are you going to do? Play Kevon Looney 40 minutes? He's your only really traditional big man, I guess. Like, it's just an undersized team. And so you get a smaller guard. And now it's just, I don't know. I just don't see it working. I really don't. And you know what? It's just could be just Curry just wills him to wins, right? But
Yeah.
I agree with both your points. Like I think Clay probably not going to be the same type of player we're seeing. Draymond's probably going to be trending downward again defensively, which this team doesn't need. I wasn't super impressed with Wiggins, and I was kind of out on Paul last year. So the fit here, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys nailed everything. I think the Paul thing, you could look at the play, which has been down that we all agree on. You could, and Jake brought it up, like just the fit as a person or a player on this group. He's talked about hating Steve Kerr in the past. Him and Curry haven't got along in the past. The interview these off seasons have been weird as hell when asked about him starting. He has to beat around the bush because it seems like he doesn't even know.
Right.
And then you had Steve Kerr come out about a month ago and say Klay Thompson is going to be defending power forwards on other teams. Yes, please. The Celtics see you twice a year. If we start a game and Klay Thompson is on Jason Tatum,
please put Klay
Good
Thompson
luck.
on Anthony Davis or Evan Mobley. Please, I would love to see that.
It's just, we basically covered all portions of this segment. Just saying a few bad things about the Warriors here. Steph's the MVP.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess we can go through most likely to be traded. I think it would probably be Wiggins because if they went through all this trouble to keep the big three together, I assume they'll probably stick out the season trying to keep the big three together. And then Wiggins, I think you could still get a decent haul for back. And
What about
Kuminga?
Kuminga?
I wouldn't be surprised there either, but I don't know how much of a haul you're gonna he hasn't really shown much.
I know he's still.
I think he would have to have a good. He would have to have a good start to the season, I think, to pull that off. But I don't think that's out of the range of possibilities.
What's the over under on let's say January 1st, after or before Chris Paul is a Laker? Because he's gone. If he's traded or waived, there's no way Chris Paul.
That's actually a fair point. I don't know if he finishes.
Yeah, it could be Chris Paul because this probably isn't going
to
to work out.
I think Chris Paul makes it like a month, and then it's like Chris Paul is away from the team for personal reasons. Chris Paul is asking for a trade. They're going to move him in a couple months. He'll be working out in LA, and then he'll be a Laker. I think that's the manifest destiny here. But Kuminga is interesting because I'd explore that. I love Wiggins.
Yeah.
Like Wiggins would definitely get you a haul, but I don't know if they can win without Wiggins, man.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's
the
thing. I don't think they want to trade.
Yeah, I don't think they can afford to lose Wiggins.
I don't think they do.
Crazy.
I don't think they want to, but I just imagined it if they get in a pinch and they're still being stubborn about keeping that big three together. I think that's the only way they'd be able to fix it. But I agree. I don't think they should. No. I think when he's been out there, he's been one of their more consistent players outside of Steph. And that leads us to best and worst case. It's pretty simple for me. I don't even, I wrote in here best case NBA finals. That might be wishful thinking with how this roster looks right now. I think best case is conference finals and worst case is Steph and CP3 do not get along. Like everyone kind of presumes they won't, and getting rid of Jordan Poole ends up being a major mistake, which could be absolutely, you can clown Poole for whatever you want, man. But he looked like he was going to be next up for this team. And he's a scoring machine at the very least and a much bigger guard than Chris Paul. So, the two things you're lacking with Chris Paul coming in and Jordan Poole going out. And who knows? He could show out in Washington, and they might be kicking themselves a few months from now.
It's going to be like the Squidward meme where Steph Curry's looking out the window and seeing Poole scoring 30 a night for the Wizards. And he's got a Chris Paul on his team that's complaining he's not getting enough minutes, averaging like 8 points, 5 assists, and they just have no chemistry.
Yeah. I think the best case, the best case probably they win 50 games and then they lose in the second round. I don't think that they could beat the Suns or the Warriors.
That's what I think. I think second round might be the ceiling. And I know it's crazy to doubt Steph Curry, and we've seen these Warriors teams, just the magic happened before with just shooting, carrying them. I don't think it'd happen again, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's a second round team.
And the worst case is like tomorrow we get a TMZ video of Chris Paul punching Steph Curry, and then all hell breaks loose.
You don't punch Steph Curry. You get shot on sight if you punch Steph Curry. You can punch anyone else on the team.
I know.
Get away with punching Steph Curry.
I know what would happen immediately is Draymond would be throwing another punch, and that would be we'd have at least 2 punches thrown.
I can't wait for the first sideline argument between Chris Paul and Kerr when Chris Paul.
I was gonna say Draymond. I can't wait for Chris and Draymond on the floor together, and just I can't wait to see them on the floor together and then see their on-off splits after the game and see what it looked like when they were on the court and not on the court, because I think that's going to be a fucking disaster. Draymond is just a disaster. We didn't even talk about Draymond at all. What is Draymond Green going to do this year? Is he going to do anything?
He's a player coach. He's a player coach at this point. He really is. I'm not saying that as a bad thing.
That's the thing, is they're going to play him as their center, as their 6'6".
It's him or Kevon Looney.
Center.
It's him or Kevon Looney. And I don't hate Looney. I think Looney's a great underrated role player. I really do.
Me too,
you can't play Kevon Looney for 40 minutes a night. He's undersized.
He might be a little overrated at this point with his Team USA performance.
I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna say no, because I don't think enough people cared about Team USA this year. So that's where I'll say no there.
That's fair.
Yeah, man. It's not looking great for the Warriors in this preview, but we'll see. Steph could somehow prove us all wrong again by being Steph.
We will be watching. I will be watching a lot of Warriors games to see what the hell this looks like and see what Steph is going to try to pull off.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, man. Let's wrap up here with the Kings, a very, very exciting team from last year. Tons of promise, so much excitement in that first round series with the Warriors. And their win total is 44.5 for the over-under. I'll start us off. I have the over here. I just loved what I saw last year. I think everyone is young enough on this team where they can still keep taking strides of improvement. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Sabonis looked a little more polished in his game. I think Fox came onto the scene last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows us another step. Keegan Murray, who was kind of just a spot-up shooter, I'm excited to see him develop more parts of his game. I love the Kings. This was, I guess, not an easy over, because I think this whole division was kind of hard with the over-unders, just how deep the West is. But I like the over here for the Kings.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty accurate line, honestly. I know they had 48 wins last year. They were everyone's darling surprise team. I think a lot of teams got better, and I think the Kings are going to be a fun team. I don't really know if they improved so much from what they did last year, but it's kind of hard to improve, right? When everyone else is getting new pieces, you're kind of bringing back the same core. But I've said all the time, this is a super fun team. De'Aaron Fox is great. I love Sabonis. I think Sabonis was one of the most underrated players until he somehow found his way into the MVP talks for a little bit. But that's because, he was playing out of his mind with the triple doubles. And I'm glad he finally put his, name on the map. I love Davion Mitchell coming off the bench. Kevin Huerter, solid player for this team. Keegan Murray, incredible. Unfortunately for the Kings, they were one pick away from getting Murray's brother. I wish, and then they trade the picks after. Just so upsetting, so upsetting. I would have loved to see both the Murrays in action. But overall, I think it's a solid team. I think it's a team that's going to be similar to last year. They had 48 wins last year. I think they're right, 45, 48 win range. So I'll take a slight over here.
Yeah, I'm taking the over. I'm very high on this team. I don't know if they're a title contender in the West, but I think that I would trust them more than the Clippers and the Warriors 100%. And so that I think that just puts them over just by just the totals and where those wins are going to fall. This is an awesome team last year. And I mean, it came down to the last couple minutes in a game 7 against the Warriors, and they couldn't get over that hump. But I think this is an easy over for me, honestly. I think this is going to be one of the best regular season West teams.
It's kind of surprising that they have the lowest win total of every team in their division.
Haters,
I found
man.
that a little surprising. Do you
Yeah.
think it's haters or
No,
it's
just
like
hype
the-
everybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Clippers, the Lakers, the
Yeah.
Warriors, right? They're a little more popular.
That's why
I guess.
that's why I would rip this over all the time, because I feel like it's like 3 wins too low for how good this roster is. Like it should be like I feel like this is safely a 47, 48 win team this year.
Okay.
Call me crazy. This might sound like a joke, but they made very few moves this offseason. One that I think they made that I think will actually be a big help for them is signing Javale McGee at the end of the summer.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I think, when Sabonis went to the bench last year and you saw Alex Len come in,
Ugh.
the lineup and just pace of play and the way they look just was so much less exciting. And I know McGee has been, for most of his career a meme, but he's played on championship teams. Everything he does is above the rim. And that's such a good compliment to have come in the game when Sabonis goes to the bench, because Sabonis is crafty, loves playing on the block, loves throwing up fakes, and he beats you with his footwork and fundamentals more than anything else. You put a guy like Javale McGee who can still bounce, block shots, dunk above the rim out there with guys like Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox. I think that was probably their thinking when they brought in Javale.
Yeah.
And they didn't make a lot of moves to talk about, so I think it stands out a little more that they brought in a guy like McGee, but it seems like they did it for a purpose. So
Yeah, and you're right. And one of the big, I guess not downfalls of Sabonis, but frustrations, he can get himself in early foul trouble a lot.
Yep.
Well, I watched a lot of Kings games. They were a lot of my league pass night team.
Yes.
And Sabonis would get himself in foul trouble early a lot. And that you're right, it really ruins the flow. So having a guy like that helps. Also, too, I think I don't know how big his role is, but they got Chris Duarte, who we've seen some good things before from on the Pacers. Chris Duarte, he can do a little bit of everything. I don't hate that as a guy coming off the bench as well.
All right. And most likely we didn't even do team MVP yet.
It's got to be Fox, I think.
Yeah.
Sabonis.
I have Sabonis. Yeah, I have Sabonis too.
Domantas Sabonis. He
I
needs
watched
to
that
lose
man
his
in the
breath.
playoffs. He is not my team MVP.
You watch. See,
Sorry.
this is the thing. You watch a couple games from Sabonis. You watch the whole.
No. I watched the whole
Sabonis is
season too.
Mm.
De'Aaron Fox unlocked Sabonis to make him an all-star, an all NBA level player. He's not doing that without Fox, bro. I'm
Sabonis
sorry.
was doing that. Indiana just wasn't noticed because no one
He
cared.
was not like that. No, not like that. Fox,
Sabonis needs respect. Sabonis needs respect. I'm making him my team MVP.
Nah, he's hey,
Nah,
Fox.
nah.
Fox is
No.
Fox has been a guy that I have been very high on from the
I like
beginning.
Fox,
so
too.
I love Fox.
I like Fox too.
Listen, I'll gladly take this. I will take any bet that Fox finishes ahead of Sabonis All NBA and MVP this
Oh,
year. I'm
I
sorry.
don't hate
I'll take
that. My
anything.
God, I don't hate
Anything.
that.
First ever Happy Hour Hoops on air bet?
Yeah,
Question
I'll
mark.
take Sabonis in that race. Absolutely.
Go for
Dude
it.
could average a triple double. You think they're not
All
going to
right,
care?
we'll see. Who would have thought that
Fox could average
biggest
30 and 10.
biggest controversy?
He's
would
not
be-
averaging 10.
10 assists.
The
You don't
only
think he's
way
averaging 10
only way
assists?
he's averaging 10 is if Sabonis isn't on the floor.
Okay.
He's not a. He'll
Okay.
average. He could average like 20. I'll give
Okay.
it 28 and like 7.
Okay. We'll see.
I mean, that's
He's
still
not-
pretty damn solid.
It's
I'll
pretty
take
damn
that.
good. That's fantastic. Is it as good as like 2015 and 11? No.
All right. Well, we know neither of those guys are getting traded. Who's most likely to be traded on this? Again, I think what I have in my doc, I'm going to change my answer, but I want to see what you guys say first.
Oh man, it's tough because I don't really think anyone from this core is. I don't think they're going to trade Davion Mitchell because I think they like him as that backup
Yeah.
guard. I'm Kevin Herter, maybe Kevin Herter.
Can't do it. He's the glue.
I don't think they do that. Harrison Barnes, but what are you going to get from Barnes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Harrison Barnes, but what really
I was
would you
thinking
get
Barnes.
from what would you get from Harrison Barnes, though? That's the thing. And the only reason I'm saying Kevin Herter is maybe if they want to start Malik Monk, but also, too, I kind of think they like Malik Monk and Davion Mitchell coming off the bench sometimes. And then mix and match in their fourth quarter lineup. So Harrison Barnes, I guess, is kind of the odd man out, but there's not one I'm like jumping out the page that, this guy's probably going to get dealt.
See, I had Monk when I first did this, and then that was my exact thing. I'm like, I think this team likes him too much.
Oh, they love him.
Yeah.
And you think about that playoff series, like how many huge plays did he make where it was a steal and a dunk and the crowd at the Kings Arena is going nuts, or a big three when the Warriors just went on this huge scoring run and they needed to stop it. And who was the guy hitting those shots? I felt like Monk came up big a couple times in that series.
And he did that in the regular season too, Doug,
yeah.
Right? Kings would get off to a slow start, and then all of a sudden they'd be right back in the game. You're like, how are they back in the game? Monk, 5 minutes coming off the bench, 6 of 7 shooting. It's like there was actually a stretch last year when I was religiously betting Malik Monk's points in the over. It was criminally.
They were putting him at like 8.5 points every game, and I'm like, all right, thank you.
It was like a week stretch. He hit it before halftime. Every game before halftime. It was like Malik Monk's just going to come off the bench and score 15. And it wasn't until end of the season you start seeing Monk's points at like 15.5, 16.5. But you're right. It was free. I don't like to say things are free. It was free.
Yeah, and then like his lines were that low some games when he was starting too. I'm like, this is outrageous. So hopefully Vegas didn't pick up on that, and that's the same this year. But yeah, I think I love Malik Monk. I like this Kings team. It's a good sign when we're fighting over who's going to be the team MVP and we don't know who's most likely to be traded.
That means they got a good core. They got a good core. They got good team.
They're
chemistry,
doing something
and that's
right.
what you want. Yeah.
Kings might be the second most secure. I'm not going to say best team in this division, but they might be the second most secure team in this division behind the Phoenix Suns.
I think the Kings probably have the safest floor, safest ceiling where we look at the Kings. And I don't look at this Kings team as much as we've like kind of hyped them, talked about. I don't think this team wins a championship. I don't think this is a championship winning team, but I'd be surprised if this team missed the postseason. I think this is one of those teams. We talked about Phoenix. If they get, in a tough matchup or one of these top teams, the Kings are someone who could give you a tough matchup in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're a feisty team. They're not going to go down without a fight. And when they are going, man, they can score and they can outscore anyone. So I don't know. My floor ceiling might be like the same. Like first round, second round playoffs. Like I don't think this team makes a Western Conference Finals, but would I be shocked? No, I don't think they get to the NBA Finals, but I think they're a playoff team. They probably gotta make a deal. I think they will make a deal. Because they had the surprise last year. Everyone's surprised team playing great. I don't think that's going to be good enough for them this year, right? So if they are on that same path, they're like, maybe we bring in another guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My best case, Western Conference Finals, I think maybe that's looking a little too far ahead for this group, but I could see it. I think a lot of people may have even thought that last year if they didn't run into the Warriors as early as they did. Mm-hmm. But Western Conference Finals, and then worst case, first round exit, because I don't know, kind of everything you just said, Steve. It's like we don't have like these crazy expectations for this group. Right. They still are.
If they're in a 3-6 matchup and the 6 is like the Lakers, they're not going to be favored.
Exactly.
In that series. Like, things like that, and that's no fault of their own, but that's just the West in general.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Yeah. If any of these teams in this division, if they have to go up again, they might not be favored. Maybe the Warriors, they're favored this year.
Yeah.
Suns would be.
It was close last year. I really think, just as a big picture conversation, there's really like, we can talk about I'll bring the Lakers up as a title contender just because, but there's 4 teams that are going to win the title this year. It's Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, or Denver. I really think that's what we're down to. And so everybody else, like, I don't think the Kings can get there. You don't even think Denver?
Jokic doesn't want to play for 2.5 more months. I'm telling you right now. I don't need to.
He's gonna go down 2-1 in the second round and be like, "All right, guys,
It's like, yeah,
I'm ready
guys,
to go home."
they throw it in. No, and I'm not saying that. I think Denver has a really talented team, but I'm being honest. I don't think Denver wants to win another chair. Jokic's got it. You don't care. But yeah, no, I think you're right, Mike. I really do. When you're saying like there is a clear tier 1 of teams this year, and those are the 4, I don't think anybody can argue that.
And I think that's changed since we did our last preview, like division preview, actually. Like when we were looking at over-unders and thinking best worst case scenario, like I was thinking of more teams like, well, if it breaks this way, like they could make the finals. Like if it's some things like now I don't see any. Those are that needs to. Yeah, that's going to be the conference finals in my brain. Like unless something goes
really wrong.
Yeah.
West, I think, is more open though. I will say West, I feel, is a lot more wide open than the East.
I do think
outside of Phoenix and obviously Denver. Besides the whole joke, Jokic doesn't want to win another championship. Those 2 are really, really good. But I think from 3 to 10 is interchangeable in the West, and that's what really makes it wide open.
And it's definitely more. I think it's a better, deeper West than it is the East again, like that 3 to 10. Like because you're talking about those teams at 3 for like if we're talking about the Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings as 3 seeds, and then you're comparing them to like Cleveland, Philly, New York, Miami. Like those are. I'm taking the West teams.
I agree. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Any guys, anything else left for the Pacific Division?
No, we killed it.
That's a show right there, fellas. Yeah. Don't be surprised at all. If you can get an alternate line on that win total, HHH backs that bet.
Yeah.
An alternate line on the Warriors under what?
Yeah.
Under 36. I'm saying, bro, if it goes, it's going bad.
36.
Under Chris Paul games played.
Guys, if Steph rolls an ankle and misses 2 months, a high ankle sprain, what is that team?
Agreed. I agree with you.
So I'm just saying, maybe not 36, but under 41. Under 41, 40, 42. It's going to happen one of these years, I don't know.
All
Look
right.
at the smirk on his face.
Oh, I'm so
Look
happy.
At the smirk on his face.
Hey, I'm not gonna try to correct him praying on the Warriors' downfall, bro. You won't get any correction out of me on that one.
We all ripped the Warriors under and are talking about the Lakers maybe making the finals. I feel like
it's a good day for Jay. Yeah. It's a good day.
It's a good day.
Kristaps Porzingis has been hitting deep threes in the Celtics preseason while we've been recording this, so nothing can bring me
What
down.
An unreal first game too for him.
He's doing it right now again.
He's doing it again.
Yeah, he hit a 3 from like 5 feet behind the line to start the game.
Those Celtics, that lineup is going to just murder teams like night to night. It's going to be terrifying to watch them play against some of these teams in the East.
He's so back.
Yeah, man. I'll end up staying on for another half hour if we start talking Celtics. So. That was a Pacific Division preview. We have 2 left for next week. We're going to be talking Northwest and the Southeast Division, and that's going to be it for another episode of Happy Hour Hoops.
Could take 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a good.
It's a good pairing. Southeast could be a real quick one.
And I think we did our Hornets preview already earlier.
That's all the Hornets talk we need.
Just put them on an island for the year.
We'll just stitch the audio and shut off our cameras for 5 minutes next episode.
5 minutes, you're being generous, don't you?
We're just gonna, those circus tracks that they play, like do. We're just gonna put the Hornets logo up, play that for like 3 minutes, and then we'll be like, "There's
put a picture of Mr.
Hornets.
Beast up."
Oh yeah,
right. Yes.
Oh yeah, the Feastable patches, guys. Get your Beast burgers in Charlotte,
guys. I didn't know Mr. Beast existed until this year. Now he's on a jersey sponsor.
First off, props to you. Props to you for not knowing he existed. Props to you.
I was baffled when I found out who this man was, and I'm like, wait, what?
Poor Charlotte Hornets. They got one nationally televised game against Wemby, and so they're not going to get any coverage, and they're going to get bought out by a YouTuber.
Just wait till the Beast House is the name of the Hornet Stadium, and they're just doing Mr. Beast just up there doing challenges in between timeouts. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be lit.
We were joking about that. Me and I were joking about that. We're like, all right, whoever can keep their hand on the backboard longest gets to play for the Charlotte Hornets tonight. Last one to leave the arena gets a fee contract with the Charlotte Hornets.
That's we need it, bro.
Yeah. Let's stop talking about it before the management gets any ideas, because this could actually happen. All right.
Man.
For Steve, Jake, myself, follow Trainwreck Sports, follow at Happy Hour Hoops 1 on all socials, and we'll see you guys next week to talk some more NBA. 13 days until the season.